Welcome now, Ermelinda Malcotte, international analyst. Welcome, Ermelinda, to this special day interview. What is the role of the United States in this conflict, and why has it gone from so-called diplomacy to frontal war in a matter of days?
Well, the role of the United States is and has always been to support Israel in the attacks against Iran. The United States has been supporting Iran with logistic, with some kind of diplomatic actions and so on. And so they're entering now directly into the war for a very simple reason, is that Israel has not the stockpiles of missiles to prolong the war very long. So they are going into the war to help Israel, which is militarily in a very precarious position. The consequences of it will be very, very big, because if United States begins to be a direct belligerent, so they can be attacked in the region by axis of resistance for one part, but also, of course, by Iran. So the U.S. bases in Arabic countries and in Central Asia can be targeted by Iran, and maybe there will be some consequences at the international community, but for the moment, I don't think so. This is something that would happen maybe on the middle or long term.
What are the real interests behind this U.S. direct involvement in a war that the U.S. people do not want? And how do you think these actions will affect the public opinion about the Trump administration?
Well, there are three wars objectives, and I think that they are shared by Israel and by the United States. The first one, which is the little one, I would say, is ending with the civil nuclear program of Iran. The second one, which is way more important, is ending with the ballistic program of Iran, which means to make Iran teethless, I would say, with no military capacity. And the third and the biggest one is what they call regime change in Iran. And they want to end with Balkanization of Iran, ending with Iran as a country and as a nation. And they want that because they have a bigger agenda in Asia. They want to disturb completely the Asian continent, and Iran is a big entry point. They're against China. This is China. This is the main objective of the United States, is going against China, but they cannot go directly against China. So they are doing little steps, I would say, against their towards their big objective.
What do you think the consequences of this attack will be for the escalation of tensions in the Middle East, and what legal consequences this attack could bring to Donald Trump and his administration?
Well, for the escalation in the Middle East, we have to see, because United States has lots of allies in the Middle East, because some countries doesn't exist without the United States support. For example, if you take Jordan, there would be a revolution against the king of Jordan if he wasn't supported by the United States. Emirates also are in that kind of situation. Arabia Saudi, it's a bit different, but there are still a big support for the United States, but still they have some kind of diplomacy and dialogue with Iran. And of course, there is axis of resistance, which has been highly damaged by the Israeli attacks since the 7th of October, basically. But still, the Yemeni side of the axis of resistance is really active. And in Iraq, we also can see resistance, and they will probably help Iran for the attacks against the military bases they have in Iraq. So this is for the regional aspect. And for the United States and the situation in the United States, of course, you said lots of people are against the war, but there are also all the propaganda machine that is on the rail and working very hard. We have seen some very mediatic people like Tucker Carlson being against the war and really making excellent videos. So I think that there will be the propaganda machine will not work as well as they want it to be working, but there are still a little time before midterms, so I don't know. Donald Trump has a little bit of time to enter the midterm. At the time, we don't know the military result of the attack, and I also see Ocasio speaking about the impeachment of Trump, but really, for the moment, I don't think it's on the agenda.
So, as you mentioned, the impeachment of Trump. So, you don't think that it's possible to have Trump impeached after this attack without the Congress approval? So, it is not possible to have him impeached?
Well, I'd like I'd like to, but they have been trying to impeach him, to make trials against him, and it has never worked. He has I mean, you can like Trump or not like him. You have to recognize that he has been really attacked by the Democrats, and he always resisted the attacks. So I'm not sure that it will be, but of course, he did it without the approval of the Congress. But he's not the first president to do things without the approval of the Congress. Jimmy Carter was an expert of it, and so it's a practice. It's something that it's not new for the United States. So we have to see in the next day the impeachment procedure. But I'm not that optimistic about it.
What do you think that about other countries in the Middle East, like for example, Yemen, could join Iran in retaliatory response after these recent attacks?
Well, Yemen has very good military capacities, but they have small military capacities. Yemen was able, for example, to make a pressure against Israel in the context of the genocide against the Palestinians. But really, what we are talking now is an attrition war, which means a very high production of missiles, very high use of missiles, of drone. It needs intelligence gathering. It's a very complex war. It's the kind of war that Russia and NATO having with each other in Ukraine. So it's a very complex war, very long-term war. So Yemen will be helping. It will be some kind of help, but very little compared to what is needed. There is also axis of resistance, and they are active in Lebanon. They have been highly damaged by the Hezbollah has been highly damaged, but maybe they can join. It's something to be seen on the next days. I really don't know, but it's an element. And of course, the Islamic resistance in Iraq, which is organized, which is in Iraq has been trying to put away the military bases from the United States they have in the territory. So it might be some help also in some aerial protection, because they can help also with that.
And what about European leaders? So far, we haven't seen any reaction coming from them. Do you think that they could also get involved in this new escalation in the Middle East?
Well, they might be involved, but European military capacities are very, very, very bad. So it won't be nothing as a game changer. Yes, and I think they will be involved, because there has been like a meeting in Geneva with the Iranian foreign minister a few days ago. The meeting has lasted 19 minutes, and Europeans have just repeated exactly word by word what Donald Trump was asking from Iran. So they have no initiative. They will enter into the conflict, I think, but with very small military capacities. It will be more an international support for the whole propaganda narrative that is Iran is the problem, Iran is a nuclear threat, and so on and so on. They will go with that, and they would help with the media and so on. And yes, they will send some kind of aircraft carrier and what they have, but it's very little.
And what about international community, like for example, Russia, China, as you mentioned? What we can expect if this escalation goes further and the conflict continues to develop into a more complicated situation? What can we expect from Russia or China regarding these the recent attacks?
Well, Russia and the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has a very interesting interview yesterday, and he was stating that Russia has offered to Iran a cooperation deal, a strategic cooperation deal, on the level of what it is active with North Korea, which is a complete defensive and a strong alliance. And Putin says that Iran refused that level of strategic cooperation and that they wanted a lesser level. And Putin also stated that for now, Iran has refused and Iran has not asked for help. So I think that Russia and China will be willing to help, but if Iran has to ask for it first. And second, as Putin said, he says Iran is a difficult ally to help. So there are some they would have to discuss first and what kind of help, how it will be managed, how they will frame it, etc. But of course, discussions are with Iran, between Iran and Russia has been very long for making of the treaty, the cooperation treaty. So they know how to discuss with each other. Russia might think that Iran is a difficult ally, but still they know them. So the connection exists and the dialogue exists. So this is a very good thing. So when Iran will ask for help, I'm pretty convinced that Russia will help. And China, we don't know. There are not like some open declaration as Putin has said, but of course China and Iran has a close relationship for oil, but also a strategic relationship because China understands very well that if Iran falls, United States will go afterward against them. Maybe they would go first against Pakistan. Maybe there will be some little steps, but the China knows that they are going for them. So of course they will help Iran, I think.
So we have many experts also pointed out that these US strikes on Iran will encourage more states to seek nuclear weapons. Do you think that this will be possible? Then other states that will feel encouraged to seek for nuclear weapons after these US strikes?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's the proof has been made today that if you enter into negotiation with like the JCPOA that has been signed by Iran in 2015, that you comply with all the IAEA procedures and demands and so on, if you really comply with everything, it doesn't matter, they're going for you if they want. So it's a complete failure in negotiation and diplomatic terms. And of course, if a country thinks that not developing nuclear weapons will make them in the good papers of the United States, well, they have the proof it's not. So yes, it's the nuclear non-proliferation treaty is something that might be revised by some countries, officially or not officially.
Thank you, Ermelinda Malcotte. She is an international analyst. Thank you for your time with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And she was Ermelinda Malcotte, an international analyst regarding this important issue about US strikes on Iranians' nuclear facilities. She has given us her insights about the further developments of these attacks.